Mason Aldridge, a 38-year-old tech visionary, lived a life most people could only imagine. As the founder and CEO of Axiom Innovations, a trailblazing company in AI and robotics, Mason built an empire from the ground up. His name became synonymous with cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking ideas, earning him features on the covers of countless business magazines. Yet, despite his success, Mason remained an enigma. Rarely seen at public events, he chose to focus almost entirely on his work, retreating to his lavish New York City penthouse, a symbol of both his immense wealth and his solitary lifestyle. Mason's journey to success was anything but easy. Growing up in poverty with two sisters and a younger brother, he dreamed of a better future. His passion for technology emerged early, and by age 14, he was building rudimentary robots from discarded parts scavenged at local junkyards. This fascination only grew stronger, eventually earning him a scholarship to study computer science at MIT. At MIT, Mason stood out not just as a student but as a visionary. His innovative projects left professors in awe and quickly caught the attention of major tech companies. However, a painful breakup during his college years shaped his drive for success. After losing someone he deeply loved to a wealthier rival, Mason vowed to define his worth on his own terms. After graduating, Mason joined a leading tech firm and quickly rose through the ranks. But his entrepreneurial spirit couldn't be contained. He left the security of his corporate job to launch his own venture. Operating out of a small garage, much like the tech legends of the past, he founded Axiom Innovations. With relentless effort and groundbreaking ideas, he transformed it into a powerhouse in the tech industry, leading the charge in AI and robotics innovation. Despite his professional accomplishments, Mason's personal life was starkly different. He lived alone, with Maria, his devoted housekeeper, being his only regular companion. She had been with him since the early days of Axiom, taking care of his daily needs with motherly affection. While Maria brought some semblance of warmth to his life, she could never fill the emptiness he felt. Mason often found solace in books, especially science fiction and classic literature. Every evening, he would sit by the massive windows of his penthouse, losing himself in the worlds of his favorite stories. Mason's reclusive lifestyle and focus on work made him a mystery to the public. He rarely gave interviews, and when he did, he spoke only about his innovations. This aura of mystery made him even more captivating, earning him a spot as one of the city's most eligible bachelors. However, the pain of his past heartbreak left him reluctant to open up to anyone, leaving his personal life untouched by romance. Axiom Innovations, Mason's brainchild, became a beacon of technological progress in the heart of New York City. The company specialized in AI and robotics, revolutionizing industries with innovations ranging from automated personal assistants to advanced industrial robots. Axiom's rapid growth reflected Mason's foresight and leadership, as he consistently anticipated market needs and developed solutions that outpaced competitors. The company's sleek glass-walled headquarters mirrored his ambition, with its modern design and cutting-edge facilities buzzing with creative energy. Although Mason's work environment thrived on innovation and collaboration, his personal life remained lonely. His penthouse, adorned with modern art and state-of-the-art technology, felt cold and devoid of human connection. His daily routine was rigid. Early mornings, long hours at the office, late nights returning home, and quiet evenings spent reading. Books provided a rare escape from the pressures of his demanding world. Maria, his ever-loyal housekeeper, remained a comforting presence through it all. Her nurturing demeanor and unwavering support offered Mason a semblance of family, even as his life remained largely defined by isolation and ambition. Since the early days of Axiom Innovations, Maria had been much more than an employee to Mason Aldridge. She was a confidant, a quiet pillar of support who ensured his home life was seamless. Her meals were always meticulously prepared, and her care for his penthouse kept it immaculate. However, Maria understood Mason's deeply private nature and never pried into his personal affairs. She recognized the silent pain he carried from his past and respected his need for solitude. Mason's interactions outside of work were minimal, limited to business meetings and occasional public appearances for Axiom. Networking events felt tedious to him, and he often avoided them, choosing instead to pour his energy into his work. This withdrawal from the social world only heightened the air of mystery around him, making him an enigmatic figure in the tech world. His memories of college remained bittersweet. The heartbreak he experienced with his first love, Emily, was a defining moment in his life. Emily had been his muse, his first love, and his dream. But when she left him for someone wealthier, Mason was devastated. This heartbreak became the fire that fueled his relentless pursuit of success. Determined never to feel that vulnerable again, Mason poured all his energy into building an empire that no one could take away from him. His devotion to Axiom Innovations left little room for personal relationships. Mason firmly believed that love and business didn't mix, and he wasn't willing to jeopardize his achievements for companionship. Yet, as Axiom grew, the demands of his position began to shift. Mason started to realize that his solitary lifestyle might become a liability, especially when dealing with investors and partners who placed a high value on personal connections. This realization became unavoidable when Eduardo Mendoza, a prominent investor from Spain, expressed interest in collaborating with Axiom. Eduardo, a traditional, family-oriented businessman, held personal relationships in high regard. When he invited Mason to a business dinner, he explicitly requested that Mason bring a significant other. This unexpected request left Mason at a crossroads. He had neither the time nor the inclination to maintain a relationship, let alone a significant other to bring to such an event. The dinner with Eduardo Mendoza was crucial for Axiom's future. Eduardo's investment had the potential to propel the company to even greater heights. Mason knew he couldn't risk attending alone. For the first time, he felt the weight of his isolation, not just as a business obstacle but as a personal void he could no longer ignore. This moment marked the beginning of a pivotal change in Mason's life, one that would set him on an unforeseen path. Eduardo Mendoza's interest in Axiom was both a surprise and an opportunity. Known as a sharp and influential figure in the European tech industry, Eduardo had a reputation for working with companies that aligned with his values. His interest represented a game-changing opportunity for Mason and his company. However, his stipulation about bringing a significant other to the dinner threw Mason off guard. The invitation arrived one evening while Mason was reading a book on quantum computing in his penthouse. His assistant, Clara, called to relay the news. "Mr. Aldridge," Clara began hesitantly. "I just received a call from Eduardo Mendoza's office. He's very interested in discussing a potential collaboration with Axiom Innovations. However, he has an unusual request for the dinner meeting." "What kind of request?" Mason asked, setting his book down and leaning forward in his chair. "He expects you to bring a significant other. Apparently, it's a tradition of his to host business dinners as social events, and he values seeing the personal side of his potential partners," Clara explained. Mason sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. "A significant other, Clara? You know I don't have time for relationships. My life is my work." "I understand, Mr. Aldridge," Clara replied gently. "But this dinner is important. Eduardo's investment could take Axiom to the next level. Perhaps you could find someone suitable to accompany you, just for the evening?" Mason remained silent, staring out of the window. The thought of faking a relationship, even temporarily, was unsettling. Yet the stakes were too high to ignore. This simple request from Eduardo had forced Mason to confront a reality he had long buried, the loneliness that had crept into his life while he was busy building an empire. For the first time, Mason wasn't just driven by ambition but by a faint yearning for connection. Mason considered Clara's suggestion carefully. The idea of hiring someone to act as his girlfriend seemed absurd, yet he couldn't deny the significance of the upcoming dinner. Eduardo's potential investment could unlock access to European markets and bring substantial funding to Axiom Innovations. "All right, Clara," Mason finally said. "Do what you can. Find someone suitable. She needs to be presentable, well-mannered, and capable of handling herself in a high-stakes business environment." Clara's relief was evident. "I'll get on it right away, Mr. Aldridge. I'll compile a list of potential candidates and schedule meetings for you to decide." The next day, Clara presented Mason with a thoroughly vetted list of candidates. Each person was chosen for their poise, intelligence, and ability to navigate complex social situations. However, as Mason met each candidate, none seemed to fit the role. One was too nervous, another came across as detached, and a third seemed overly eager. None matched the image of a convincing partner who could impress Eduardo Mendoza. Feeling frustrated and running out of options, Mason decided to take a break and clear his mind. He left the office and headed to a nearby coffee shop, one he often visited to escape the pressures of work. As he sipped his coffee, a young woman caught his attention. She was serving customers with a warm smile and an air of grace. Her name tag read Ava Harper. Ava stood out immediately. She was strikingly beautiful, with her long dark hair tied in a neat ponytail and bright blue eyes that sparkled with warmth and intelligence. Despite the bustling, sometimes chaotic environment of the coffee shop, she moved with calm confidence. Mason watched as she handled difficult customers with patience and charm, her smile never fading. Intrigued, Mason decided to approach her. He waited until she had a moment of respite before making his move. "Excuse me, Miss Harper," he began, trying to sound casual despite the unusual nature of what he was about to say. Ava turned to him with a friendly smile. "Yes. How can I help you?" "My name is Mason Aldridge. he introduced himself, noticing a brief flicker of recognition in her expression. "I have a rather unconventional proposition for you." Ava raised an eyebrow, curiosity mingling with caution. "Go on." Taking a deep breath, Mason explained, "I have a critical business dinner coming up, and it requires me to bring a significant other. The thing is, I don't have one. I'd like to hire you to accompany me as my date for the evening. Of course, you'd be generously compensated." Ava stared at him, stunned. "You want to hire me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" "Yes," Mason admitted. "I realize it's an unusual request, but I've seen how you carry yourself. You're confident, articulate, and you seem like someone who can adapt to any situation. Please, consider it." Ava studied him, her mind racing. The proposition was undoubtedly strange, but the potential income was tempting. She had bills to pay and a younger brother to support. After a moment of deliberation, she nodded. "All right, Mr. Aldridge, I'll do it, but I have a few conditions of my own." "Of course," Mason replied quickly. "Anything you need." Ava smiled, her decision made. "Then I guess we have a deal." With Ava's agreement, Mason felt a wave of relief. The first hurdle was cleared. Now, they had to prepare for the dinner with Eduardo Mendoza. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Mason wanted to ensure that Ava was ready for the high-stakes environment she was about to step into. The day after their agreement, Mason arranged for Ava to visit his office. He wanted to brief her on what to expect and answer any questions or concerns she might have. When Ava arrived, she wore a simple but professional outfit, her hair neatly tied back. She looked both nervous and determined. "Thank you for coming, Ava," Mason said warmly as he greeted her. "I appreciate you agreeing to this." "It's an unusual request," Ava admitted candidly. "But I could use the extra money. And honestly, it sounds like an interesting challenge." Mason nodded. "I've arranged for a personal shopper to help you pick out an appropriate outfit for the dinner. We'll meet with her this afternoon." "Sounds good," Ava replied, though there was a flicker of apprehension in her eyes. As they began their preparations, Mason couldn't help but feel a cautious optimism. For the first time in years, he wasn't facing a challenge alone, and that gave him a sense of hope he hadn't expected. "I'll also brief you on some background about my company and the people who will be attending the dinner," Mason continued. "Eduardo Mendoza is a key investor, and his fiancée, Sofia, will also be there. They're both very traditional and place a strong emphasis on personal connections." Ava listened intently, nodding as she absorbed the details. "I understand. I'll do my best to make a good impression." "I'm sure you will," Mason said, offering a reassuring smile. That afternoon, Mason and Ava met Lauren, a personal shopper, at an upscale boutique. Lauren greeted them warmly and quickly got to work, selecting dresses and accessories for Ava to try on. Mason watched as Ava modeled dress after dress, offering feedback while ensuring she felt at ease. Finally, they settled on a stunning evening gown that highlighted Ava's natural beauty. The gown was elegant yet understated, perfect for the formal dinner. "You look incredible," Mason said when Ava stepped out of the dressing room in the chosen outfit. Ava blushed slightly. "Thank you, I hope it's good enough." "It's more than good enough," Mason assured her. They completed the look with shoes, jewelry, and a matching clutch, leaving Ava feeling more confident about the upcoming event. In the days leading up to the dinner, Mason and Ava spent more time together preparing. Mason briefed her on Axiom Innovations, its major projects, and the key people she would meet. In return, Ava shared snippets of her own life, her struggles, her aspirations, and her determination to support her younger brother by working multiple jobs. Mason admired her resourcefulness and resilience and found himself opening up to her in ways he hadn't with anyone in years. He even shared pieces of his own story, including the heartbreak that had driven him to immerse himself in his work. One evening, as they reviewed the dinner details, Ava looked at him curiously. "Why did you choose me?" she asked. Mason paused, his expression thoughtful. "Honestly, when I saw you at the coffee shop, handling everything with such grace and confidence, I knew you'd be perfect. You have a natural ability to connect with people, and that's exactly what I needed." Ava smiled, touched by his words. "Thank you for believing in me." The day of the dinner arrived quickly. Mason and Ava met at his penthouse, where a professional stylist was waiting to help Ava with her hair and makeup. As the stylist worked, Mason paced the living room, going over last-minute details in his mind. When Ava finally emerged, ready for the evening, Mason was momentarily speechless. She looked stunning, her hair elegantly styled, her makeup enhancing her striking features, and the evening gown fitting her perfectly. "You look amazing," Mason said, struggling to find the right words. Ava smiled nervously. "Thank you, I just hope I don't mess this up." "You won't," Mason said with confidence. "You're going to do great." They left the penthouse and headed to the restaurant where the dinner was being held. As they drove, Mason felt a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. This dinner was crucial for his company's future, and he silently hoped everything would go smoothly. The restaurant Eduardo had chosen was one of New York City's most exclusive, known for its impeccable service and elegant ambiance. Mason and Ava arrived slightly early, wanting to ensure they were settled before Eduardo and Sofia joined them. A maitre d' led them to a private dining room adorned with soft lighting and an impeccably set table. As they waited, Mason's nerves began to show. Ava noticed and gently placed her hand on his. "Relax, Mason, everything will be fine," she said with a calm, reassuring smile. Mason nodded, grateful for her support. "You're right. Let's make this a night to remember." Moments later, Eduardo Mendoza and his fiancée, Sofia, arrived. Eduardo was a tall, charismatic man with a warm smile and a confident handshake. Sofia, elegant and poised, greeted Mason and Ava with friendly warmth. "Mason, it's a pleasure to finally meet you in person," Eduardo said, shaking his hand firmly. "The pleasure is mine, Eduardo," Mason replied with a polite smile. "Thank you for the opportunity." Mason smiled and said, "And this must be your lovely companion." Eduardo turned to Ava with a warm expression. "Yes," Mason said, gesturing toward her. "This is Ava Harper. Ava, meet Eduardo Mendoza and his fiancée, Sofia." "It's a pleasure to meet you both," Ava said gracefully, shaking their hands. "Likewise," Sofia responded with a smile. "I've heard so much about Axiom Innovations. What you've achieved is truly impressive." "Thank you, Sofia," Mason replied. "We're very proud of the work we've done." As everyone settled into their seats, the conversation began to flow naturally. Eduardo showed genuine interest in Axiom Innovations, asking thoughtful and insightful questions about the company's projects and future direction. Mason, having prepared extensively, responded confidently, explaining their latest advancements in AI and robotics. Ava, meanwhile, charmed Eduardo and Sofia with her intelligence and poise. She spoke knowledgeably on a range of topics, from technology to literature, and even shared a few personal anecdotes that had everyone laughing. Her natural ability to connect with people was evident, and Mason could see that Eduardo and Sofia were genuinely impressed by her presence. Midway through the dinner, Eduardo leaned back in his chair with a satisfied smile. "Mason," he said, "I must say, I'm thoroughly impressed, not just with you, but with Ava as well. It's clear you have a strong vision for your company, and you've surrounded yourself with remarkable people." "Thank you, Eduardo," Mason replied, feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment. "That means a great deal coming from you." As the evening continued, the conversation shifted to more personal topics. Eduardo and Sofia shared stories about their life in Spain and their journey as a couple. At one point, Sofia, noticing the natural chemistry between Mason and Ava, couldn't resist asking, "So, how did you two meet?" Mason and Ava exchanged a brief glance, the rehearsed story ready to go. "We met at a coffee shop," Ava began with a smile, looking at Mason. "I was working there, and Mason came in one day. We struck up a conversation, and, well, the rest is history." "Sounds like fate," Sofia said, clearly delighted by the story. "It's wonderful to see such a genuine connection." Eduardo nodded in agreement. "Indeed, it's rare to find that kind of connection, especially in our line of work." As the night drew to a close, Eduardo made his decision known. "Mason, I've made up my mind. I'm very interested in pursuing this collaboration. I believe our companies can accomplish extraordinary things together." Mason's heart soared. "That's fantastic news, Eduardo. I'm truly excited about what we can achieve." Eduardo stood, signaling the end of the dinner. "Let's discuss the details in the coming days. For now, let's enjoy the rest of the evening." With the formalities out of the way, the atmosphere relaxed even further. The group shared more laughs and stories before finally saying their goodbyes. As they exited the restaurant, Mason felt a profound sense of gratitude and relief. The evening had gone better than he could have hoped, and for the first time in a long while, he felt that everything was falling into place. Eduardo pulled Mason aside as the evening wound down. "Mason, you've made a wise choice in your partner. Ava is truly remarkable." "Thank you, Eduardo," Mason replied sincerely. "I couldn't agree more." On the drive back to Mason's penthouse, he turned to Ava, his expression filled with gratitude. "You were incredible tonight. I don't think I could have done this without you." Ava smiled, her eyes sparkling with pride. It was a team effort, Mason. I'm just glad I could help. As they navigated the city streets, Mason found himself reflecting on the evening and the connection he was beginning to feel for Ava. What had started as a purely professional arrangement now felt like something more. He was drawn to her intelligence, kindness, and the warmth she brought into his otherwise solitary world. For the first time in years, his future felt brighter, not just for Axiom Innovations, but for his personal life as well. The successful dinner with Eduardo Mendoza marked the beginning of a new chapter. Over the weeks that followed, Mason and Ava continued to see each other, initially as part of their agreement, but increasingly for more personal reasons. Their professional boundaries began to blur as genuine feelings developed between them. Their meetings, often held in Mason's office or quiet cafes, focused on Axiom's collaboration with Eduardo. Each encounter revealed more about their lives and personalities. One evening, after a productive meeting, Mason suggested a walk through Central Park. The warm summer evening brought a peaceful energy to the bustling city, and they strolled leisurely along the park's pathways. "Thank you for agreeing to this arrangement," Mason said, breaking the comfortable silence. "I know it's not something you ever expected to do." Ava smiled warmly. "It's been an interesting experience, and it's given me the chance to get to know you. You're not as intimidating as you first seemed." Mason chuckled. "I'm glad to hear that. I've enjoyed getting to know you too. You've brought something into my life I didn't even realize was missing." As they walked, Mason opened up about his past, sharing stories of his family, his struggles, and his dreams. Ava listened intently, responding with stories of her own, about growing up in Brooklyn, her challenges, and her aspirations. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, and Mason realized how much he valued Ava's perspective and insight. A shared love of books brought them even closer. Mason, who often found comfort in his extensive collection of literature, was thrilled to learn that Ava was an aspiring writer. She spent her free time crafting short stories and dreamed of publishing a novel one day. "I'd love to read some of your work," Mason said one evening as they sat in his penthouse, surrounded by his collection of books. Ava blushed slightly. "I'm not sure it's ready for an audience yet," she admitted. "But I'll share it with you someday." They spent hours discussing their favorite authors, genres, and how literature had shaped their lives. Mason was captivated by Ava's passion and insight, and her enthusiasm inspired him in ways he hadn't expected. Their relationship took a pivotal turn when Mason invited Ava to attend a prestigious gala hosted by a major tech organization. It was a high-profile event, and Mason wanted Ava by his side. Ava hesitated. "Are you sure about this? It's one thing to accompany you to a business dinner, but this is a major event." "I'm sure," Mason replied firmly. "I want you there with me. You've handled everything so far with such grace and confidence. This will be no different." Reassured, Ava agreed, and the two spent the following days preparing for the gala. Mason couldn't help but feel excited about the possibilities, not just for his career, but for what this growing connection with Ava might mean for his future. Mason ensured every detail was perfect for the gala. He arranged for Ava to wear a stunning midnight blue gown paired with matching accessories and brought in a stylist to help her prepare. When the evening arrived, Ava looked breathtaking in the elegant dress that highlighted her natural beauty. The event was held in a grand ballroom at one of New York City's most luxurious hotels. As Mason and Ava entered the venue, they immediately drew attention. Mason, usually reserved and distant at such events, felt a rare sense of pride and ease with Ava by his side. Throughout the evening, they mingled with influential guests, engaging in discussions about technology, innovation, and the future of the industry. Ava's charm and intelligence captivated everyone she interacted with, making a lasting impression on even the most skeptical attendees. Her wit and warmth shone through, leaving Mason even more entranced by her. As the night unfolded, Mason found himself drawn to Ava more than ever. During a slow dance, he finally shared what had been weighing on his heart. "Ava, this all started as a business arrangement," he admitted. "But it's grown into something much more for me. I've realized how deeply I care about you. You've brought a light into my life that I didn't know was missing." Ava looked up at him, her eyes filled with emotion. "Mason," she said softly, "I feel the same way. You've shown me a world I never thought I'd be part of, and you've believed in me more than anyone else ever has." Without another word, Mason leaned in and kissed her, sealing their unspoken feelings. It was a turning point that transformed their relationship into something real and profound. After the gala, Mason and Ava's relationship flourished. They spent more time together, not just as business partners but as a couple. Mason introduced Ava to his friends and colleagues, and she quickly became a beloved presence in his life. Inspired by Mason's unwavering support, Ava began taking her writing more seriously. With his encouragement, she dedicated more time to her stories and even started submitting her work to literary magazines. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, built on mutual respect, admiration, and genuine affection. Ava brought balance to Mason's demanding career, grounding him with her warmth and optimism. Likewise, Mason inspired Ava to chase her dreams and believe in her talent. As their lives became increasingly intertwined, they learned to navigate both professional and personal challenges together. Mason's work at Axiom Innovations remained demanding, but Ava's presence provided him with new inspiration and balance. Meanwhile, Ava, encouraged by Mason's belief in her, started to see the fruits of her labor as her writing gained recognition. Evenings at Mason's penthouse became their sanctuary. They cooked meals together, shared stories about their day, and enjoyed quiet moments reading. Ava's vibrant energy transformed the previously sterile space into a true home. One evening, while preparing dinner, Ava hesitated before sharing her thoughts. "Mason, I've been thinking about taking a writing workshop. It's a bit expensive, but I think it would really help me grow as a writer." Mason smiled, pleased to see her pursuing her passion. "I think that's a fantastic idea. Don't worry about the cost, consider it an investment in your future." Ava's face lit up with gratitude. "Thank you, Mason, your support means everything to me." As their relationship deepened, Mason began to think more seriously about their future. He realized he couldn't imagine life without Ava. She had become his confidant, his partner, and the love of his life. Determined to make their bond official, Mason started planning a proposal. He wanted the moment to be perfect, something that reflected their unique connection and shared journey. After much thought, he decided to propose during a private dinner at their favorite restaurant. The venue had a cozy ambiance and a breathtaking view of the city skyline, making it the ideal setting for such an important moment. On the night of the proposal, Mason felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he prepared to take the next step in their relationship. Mason was uncharacteristically nervous. He had arranged a private table on the restaurant's terrace, adorned with candles and flowers, with the glittering city skyline as their backdrop. As they sat down, Mason reached across the table and took Ava's hand. "Ava," he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. "These past few months with you have been the happiest of my life. You've brought joy and meaning into my world in ways I never expected. I love you more than words can express." Ava's eyes filled with emotion as she listened, her heart racing. Mason took a deep breath, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small velvet box. Opening it to reveal a stunning engagement ring, he said, "I can't imagine my future without you. Will you marry me?" Ava gasped, her hand covering her mouth in surprise. Tears streamed down her face as she exclaimed, "Yes, Mason, yes, I will." Mason smiled, his heart swelling with happiness as he slipped the ring onto her finger. He leaned in to kiss her, sealing their commitment with love. Around them, the other diners on the terrace broke into applause, and the couple basked in their shared joy. Their wedding was a small, intimate ceremony held in a beautiful garden, surrounded by their closest friends and family. Ava wore a simple yet elegant dress, and Mason looked dashing in a tailored suit. Their vows were heartfelt, reflecting the deep love and respect they had for one another. After the wedding, they embarked on a honeymoon that celebrated their shared passions for literature and travel. Their journey took them to iconic literary locations around the world. The rolling hills of the English countryside where Jane Austen once lived, the lively streets of Paris that inspired Hemingway, and the rugged landscapes of Scotland that echoed the works of Robert Burns. Each stop was a tribute to their shared love of storytelling and exploration. The trip brought them even closer as they created memories that would last a lifetime. They returned home to New York with a renewed sense of connection and excitement for the life they were building together. Back in the city, Mason and Ava settled into their new life as a married couple. Mason led Axiom Innovations with fresh vigor, his personal happiness reflected in the company's continued success. Eduardo Mendoza's investment had propelled Axiom to new heights, and Mason's innovative projects garnered international acclaim. Ava, now Mrs. Aldridge, thrived in her writing career. With Mason's constant encouragement, she published her first book, a collection of short stories that received critical acclaim. She dedicated the book to Mason, acknowledging his unwavering support and the transformative impact he had on her life. Their evenings were often spent together in their penthouse, reading, writing, and enjoying quiet moments of togetherness. Ava's vibrant energy had turned Mason's once cold and solitary home into a warm and inviting space. One evening, while preparing dinner, Ava brought up an idea. "Mason, I've been thinking about taking a writing workshop. It's a bit expensive, but I think it would really help me grow. Mason smiled, his pride in her unmistakable. That's a wonderful idea. Don't worry about the cost, consider it an investment in your future. Ava beamed with gratitude. Thank you, Mason, your belief in me means everything. As their marriage flourished, Mason began to think seriously about the future. Their love had deepened into a partnership rooted in mutual respect, support, and shared dreams. Soon, their family grew with the arrival of their daughter, Lily. Mason, once solely focused on his career, embraced fatherhood with passion and joy, cherishing every moment with Lily. Ava balanced her creative pursuits with motherhood, finding inspiration in her family for new stories. Together, Mason and Ava created a life filled with love, growth, and purpose. Mason continued to lead Axiom with a focus on innovation and ethical responsibility, while Ava flourished as a celebrated author. Their unexpected journey, from a business arrangement to a life-changing romance, became a testament to the transformative power of connection, trust, and unwavering support.